Really, Cranes? Really? Seriously? You're calling the real estate market the trifecta of terror? Sensationalist garbage. Get rid of that. So 2023 was a wild ride, guys, but we're through it. We're here. It's 2024, and it's time to take a minute, get into what's going on, what's going to be happening both nationally and locally. And who am I? I'm a local real estate agent here in Metro Detroit. I've been servicing the Metro Detroit community for over 22 years. I'll be 23 years next month. 23 years selling real estate. Feels like a lifetime. It is for a lot of people watching this video, I'm sure. But more so, I also study the economy from all angles and have been for years because that's one of my passions. My background is in finance, and this is my third year doing predictions. And over the last 2 years, my 21 predictions, I've nailed 17, which is over 80%. Putting that perspective, the major players like Goldman or JP Morgan or Schwab or others that are supposed to be on the forefront of the finance sector, and places like the National Association of Realtors and Redfin and Zillow and other players in the real estate industry only get right about 40 to 50% of their predictions over the last few years. But before we move on, don't forget to subscribe. We drop great videos each and every week. I want to be your go-to for your next home purchase or home sale here in Metro Detroit. First up, and it can't be anything other than first up because it's real estate and I love real estate and I'm in real estate. 2023, most major economists predicted the market would move down 8 to 15%, and to the shock of almost everyone, the market went up. Here locally in Metro Detroit, we saw the market actually go up 6.4%. So what's next? If you're a buyer and you're waiting for a housing crash in 2024, that is not going to happen. Just plain and simple. I'd rather be direct and upfront with you. Also, if you're a homeowner hoping home prices are going to shoot through the roof like they did in 2021, you're going to pick up a ton of equity, well, that's not going to happen either. We're coming out of the lowest number of home sales, just short of 4 million home sales nationwide since 2010. Okay, now that was coming out of a hard market, the 2008, 9, and 10 market, of course. So let's go back even further. The next lowest year was 1995. To put it in perspective, in 2020, we had 6.8 million sales. So we're down literally 3 million sales, almost 50% off our peak. But prices went up. They did. So Case-Shiller reported nationally across the US, prices were up 3.93% year over year. And here in Metro Detroit, we crushed it at 6.4%. We were actually one of the leading metros in the nation. And as soon as that data was published, a ton of articles like this came out on it. Now, typically when home sales go down, so do prices, but not this time. So we're ending the year at an abysmal 3.9 million home sales. Where do we go from here? Looking at all the economic indicators, household debt, interest rates, inflation, finance, because nothing happens in a vacuum. Home sales, I believe, is going to ratchet up 20% to 4.8 million homes sold. And we're going to see a 5% increase in home values. Now, there are some crazy things that could happen, and watch to the end of the video because we're covering the craziest bill that's working its way through Congress right now that I've seen, frankly, in my lifetime regarding real estate. Likelihood is none of this craziness is actually going to happen. We're in an election year, guys. So what do the other players think? Bankrate has us pegged at a 4.6 million home sales, which is a little more conservative. Yahoo Finance is reporting a price increase of only 3%, upward maybe 4%. And honestly, I think that's a little soft. On the far extreme, Barron's is forecasting home prices to actually decline 1.7%. And guys, that is so unlikely it's not funny. What does this mean to you? Well, it depends on where you are right now. Let's walk through the three main scenarios people are in. First scenario, you're a renter. Quit it. Literally quit it right now. And we'll get into why a little more later, but you're missing out on equity growth. You're missing out on paying down a loan instead of paying disappearing rent. You're missing out on values rising. Then that will keep on happening, especially after we cover the next topic. And you're missing out on the mortgage interest deduction. And that's thousands of dollars that you will literally get mailed back to you from the IRS simply for having and paying on a mortgage. You're also missing a place you can call your own home. Scenario two, you're a move-up buyer. Get while the getting's good. I know you're probably in a mortgage with a 2.5 to 4.5% interest rate. Over 80% of Americans are. But if you've been holding on to that, today's the day and now's the time before rates drop too far. Because once that happens, all your family, all your friends, and all your coworkers that have been saying, well, when rates drop, I'm gonna go buy a house, they all become your competition. So pay a few payments at 7, bite the bullet, and then get that 5.5 or 6% lower rate towards the end of the year. It's only a few payments, guys, but what I can't get back is the 5 to 10% you're gonna lose when home values go up. Last but not least, you've got my parents or move down sellers. So where are my boomers? Give this video a like, please. I'm about to make a lot of husbands pretty happy right now because, my dad doesn't want to move, my mom does, my dad doesn't, so I'm gonna make him happy at the bare minimum. What makes the most sense for most boomers right now is not selling at all for several reasons. And I'm gonna use my parents as the case study. Someone like my parents either have their house paid off or have extremely high equity after the run-up. And with that, they also have a very low interest rate if they still have a loan. And you're not gonna be able to get that rate again. For someone like my parents, they don't need to move. It's a want, but not a very strong one. They've been in their home longer than Xers, longer than millennials. So they're paying substantially less in property taxes than they would on their next home or next condo, and will continue to pay less for years. If the maintenance is getting away from you, I'm going to totally concede that point, and yes, go ahead and sell. But any other situation, don't. If you need cash, I get it. And that's where a lot of the folks that are baby boomers are that we meet with. Reverse mortgages are a very underutilized tool and option to keep you in your home. Call me on that. We don't make anything on them because I'm not a mortgage person, but I want to make sure you have all the facts to make the best decision for you and your family. Putting a fine point on it, number of home sales next year is going to go up 20% and home values are going to go up 5%. My prediction, hand to God. Moving on, interest rates and mortgages. The Fed is committed to lowering rates 3 times in 2024. Now, what does this mean? And let me set the stage. We've seen 11 rate hikes from March of 22 to now, pushing mortgages, credit card payments, car loans, all of those to their highest levels in 22 years. That was actually the year I got my first mortgage, and my first interest rate was 8%. Now, rates hit 8% in 2023, as I predicted, and started coming down as I predicted. Now, there are 3 scenarios that could play out in 2024. The first one is we could start the year flat and hold there for the first few months with interest rates, and then lower to 6.5 to 6.25 going into the election. So mid-year or even late year. Now, rates could take a sharper downturn to the 6 mark or 5.5 mark, but we'd have to start that rate decline very early spring so they don't come crashing down, ratcheting up inflation and overheating the economy too fast. Now, rates could stay steady, or we could lose our grip on inflation, which is completely possible, and rates could have to rise, especially if we have a very strong job market. My gut tells me the first scenario is the most likely. I think by now we can all agree, under 2 different presidents, Powell has been walking to the beat of his own tune, dismissing both presidents, but I know this to be true. Rates fall in an election year. The last time they didn't was under President Bush Sr. So there's immense pressure from the White House, regardless of who's president, to see this happen because it's really popular with the voters, and that middle undecided vote is where whomever the sitting president is can hoover up some of those votes. I don't see them coming down to 6% for reasons we'll cover in the inflation section. Bottom line, if you're waiting for a 6% rate versus today's 7% to buy, don't. That payment we can bring down in October and November, but that home price is going to be up 5 or 10% higher. No one can bring that down for you. If you're looking at 10% or below or going FHA or VA, get while the getting's good. Each 1 point drop in rates adds 25% more buyers to the market, which means competition and multiple offers. They're still a thing, but they're largely gone. They will be back in May and stay through the summer, making it harder after March for low down payment buyers to get into a home. Not as bad as 2021, but definitely harder than 2023. Next up, I've got new construction. Okay, this is gonna be a brief one. New construction stalled for a bit in 2023 with rates going up so dramatically, mainly because these homes are larger in the nice to have but not need to have category for most buyers. But we still ended 2023 down in new housing starts. In Michigan, we were down almost 20%. Both nationally and here in Michigan, I believe we're going to see a 15 to 20% spike in new homes. But I believe the price of what's being built will come down dramatically. Traditionally, new construction is 50 to 80% above an area's average. So nationally, a $480,000 average sales price means a $720,000 to $850,000 typical new build. Also, we usually don't see new construction in communities under the median home values in those areas. Here's an example. In Michigan, the average home sales price is around $300,000. Cities where the majority of homes fall below that number rarely get new construction. It's typically non-existent. But I do see this changing a little bit in 2024 and more so in 25. We need more affordable homes, not these behemoths, these giants that so few can afford. We have a first and second time buyer problem, not a luxury problem. In addition to new home starts going up, I see condos make up the lion's share of that, and the average new home start falling from 150 to 180% of an area's value, closer to on par to 125% or even 100% of an area's value. It doesn't fix the problem, but it will definitely help first time and move up buyers. As move up buyers have somewhere now to go, because the boomers aren't selling, it'll free up those homes that they've got to sell. For the first time buyers, the new construction buyers have to sell. It's not fixing the problem, but again, it helps. We're still going to be below 1 million housing starts, which is the target number we need to hit every single year, but we won't be as far below as we were in 2023, 700,000. The stock market. Okay, well, 2022 sucked with recession fears, inflation out of control, and the interest rates also out of control. In 2023, we gained back almost every inch of ground we lost. That was cool. There were definitely some losers in there. Tesla hasn't fully recovered, as well as the nail in the coffin went into WeWork. Anything work from home, frankly, got creamed. But we did see some winners in 2023, including Apple, Intel, Microsoft. Pretty much our American tech sector firmed back up. For 2024, BCA Research is very bearish, thinking recession, and believes we're going to see 3,300 as an endpoint for the S&P 500. JP Morgan is still bearish, but a little higher. Their prediction is the S&P 500 is going to end around 4,200. Morgan Stanley is staying neutral at 4,500. Bank of America is seeing more of a bullish 5,000. And Michael Perna is looking down the spike to 5,200. I'm coming in high. But then I was the only one that did in 2023 and nailed it. Bottom line, towards the end of 2022, I implored my family and friends and clients and pretty much everybody I knew to stop selling their stocks and just hold. Hold the stocks, hold the mutuals, hold the ETFs, all of them, leading to today's giveaway. Morgan Housel, in his book, The Psychology of Money, said you simply cannot time the bottom or the top of the market. The first 10 people that like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling me what videos you want me to cover next, and then email me that. I will send you a copy of that book or another book I just came across that I think is really good, Unreasonable Hospitality. Now this one's a great one. My leadership team and I are reading in an effort to top grade our service to you, the people in Metro Detroit, when we help you buy and sell homes. Our reviews speak for themselves, but can we be better? I say yes, and we will be better. Do those couple of things, shoot me an email. I'm gonna get one of those 2 books out to you, your choice. Next up, I've got inflation, and that's been the 4-letter word of the economy for the last 2 years. And we've all seen the memes of what groceries cost in McAllister's and Home Alone in the 90s and what that same amount of food actually costs now. We're finally seeing some relief at the pump, but rents went up just in the last inflation report also. Now we're finally in sight of something that starts with a 2% or 2 in front of it, not a 3, and definitely not a 9% that we saw from last year, which was just terrible. But we're not there yet. 3.2 is where we landed at the end of the year, 3.2%, 2 months in a row. I don't think we're gonna see a 2 in front of that number until at least March. Now, many economists think that we're actually gonna go below 2.5%. And I honestly believe that's just a pipe dream. But after that, I think we're gonna see high 2s, not low 2s like the Fed wants, but they're just gonna have to swallow it and deal with it. In fact, I think we're gonna see a 2 in March, and if we do, it's gonna trigger the first of 3 rate drops in either April or June. So we've broken the back of inflation, but it's not dead yet. We've seen a major pullback, but we've also seen record sales for Christmas. Spending is up 8% year over year, as well as a strong job market through the winter. It's gonna be high 2s, guys, not low 2s, but here's why the Fed is gonna be okay with it. Wage growth. For 2023, we saw a 4.8% wage growth per the Department of Labor. As long as that number outpaces inflation, I think the Fed will consider not taking a wrecking ball to the economy, especially in an election year. And that said, wage growth and inflation are finally neck and neck from 2020 to now. Scope this one out. We finally caught up. But by all forecasts, it won't continue. We're going to see wage growth, I believe, move more towards a 3 or 3.5% lower, still above inflation. There's no economist predicting wage growth to expand above 5%. There just isn't. And honestly, guys, I don't see it in the cards. Bottom line, I can't speak to every field, but for many of them, this is just not the year to go find a new job. When wage growth goes above 4%, as it did in 21 or 22, employers are clamoring for new talent. I've seen people in automotive get up to 10 to 30% wage increases to do the same job. It's all right to look and find and possibly change jobs. There's security there with a super tight job market. And it's still super tight, but a lot of employers are tightening the belt in case things get worse. If you need a new job, there's a high likelihood it'll pay about the same or even a little less than the one that you have, unless you're changing fields or adding a degree. Crypto. So Bitcoin is finally back above 40,000, 43,000 as of this shooting, up from 17,773 where we started the year, but the rest of the crypto market is still in massive turmoil. If Bitcoin is the gold standard, Ethereum is the silver standard. It also almost doubled this year. Now, my father always said, invest in what you know. And I'm a geek, so I like tech stocks, I like American companies. I don't like crypto. My few bucks I put into Bitcoin did well. I'm gonna hold it through 2024. USA Today believes that we're gonna have a very bullish crypto year. I won't be there to see it. Just not a fan. Just personal opinion. Invest in what you know. The luxury home market. Now the numbers are in. In 2022, we saw 1,590 luxury home sales here in Metro Detroit. In 2023, that number went down to 1,497, a little under 10% less. Mainly this was due to just less homes to buy, not for lack of demand. We saw builders pull back hard from the luxury market. And for someone to move from a $700,000 home to a $1.5 million home, it's a like to have, not a need to have. This thing has got to be compelling. So now more than in 2021 or 2022, a compelling home with a great kitchen or great bathroom is very important. We'll talk about that as well. A few rate decreases will help shake up that market, shake loose some buyers by lowering those payments, making it easier for buyers to do their own work. But bottom line, if you're a buyer, hold out for a great home. Not just a good one, a great one if it's out there. Like, be ready to buy when it comes up because you won't be the only one that's interested in it. But don't necessarily be forced to buy anything just because you want to have that home purchase done. Now, if you're a home seller, do the kitchen, do the bathroom, do all the cosmetics needed, not the things that feel like they have value only because they cost money, like the mechanicals. If they're good, like roof or heating, cooling, or windows, just leave it alone. If you've got life left on it, leave it alone. A good rule of thumb is if you can see it, improve it. If it's hidden, like again, a furnace is hidden down in the basement, don't touch it. Second, hire an interior designer, or frankly, hire us. We provide one to help guide you to the top sales price possible, period. Rents. Now, we saw severe rent spikes in the last few years, and rents came down 5% late this year. Now, here's my prediction. We're gonna be straight up even on rents in 2024. Not a lot of movement in the sector, not a lot of excitement. People are gonna be moving into homes and out of apartments as rates come down, but a third of Americans are always gonna be renters and always are renters. And as investors buy more homes and apartment complexes keep getting built, rents will just be what they are. Not up, not down. We're gonna end the year, I think, where we started. Now, here's the wild card. Here's the one thing that could change everything and really disrupt the real estate market. The End the Hedge Fund Control of American Homes Act, or EFCA. All right, that alphabet thing did not work out very well for this bill, but essentially, here's the bare bones of it. This act would force hedge funds to sell off their single-family homes over the next 10 years, reducing their investments to literally zero, or face huge tax penalties. What kind of tax penalties? $50,000 per house per year kept past the sell date. On one side, rents are up almost 50% due to hedge funds and other investors buying property and spiking rents. But more so, it's because of the lack of apartments and rentals that were constructed since the last recession. Now, no one entity owned more than 1,000 single-family homes in 2011, just to put this whole thing in perspective, and in 2023, 27% of all homes sold went to investors. Now, the majority of those were small local investors, but investors, further driving the single-family home prices up, and in turn, allowing rent increases as buyers are forced out of the market and forced back to renting. But let's look at the real numbers. Between 4 and 7 million homes are sold every year. Right now, hedge funds own roughly 610,000 homes total. Even if every one of those, plus the 600,000 Airbnbs were just unloaded onto the market, the reality is it wouldn't really make a dent in the number of homes actually needed. It would help. I mean, it would help for like a year, but that's about it. Frankly, guys, this bill's not going to pass, but at least there are some ideas and people are talking about those ideas. The better solution, I believe, is if you're listening, Congress people, like literally get your pen, take some notes. Use the IRS as a weapon like it has been in the past. And here's what I mean by that. We as Americans are in partnership with the Internal Revenue Service, with the government. So we pay taxes and the government provides a service. They provide military and roads and schools and all the things. But there are things the government does not want to provide, specifically housing and energy creation. Investing directly into solar or oil drilling, there are a ton of write-offs and a ton of tax credits here. Buy a house as a long-term rental, there are some massive tax write-offs with what's called cost segregations. But what if there were incentives to build what we specifically need, aka starter homes, for example? This, I believe, would be the wiser move. The tax code has been used to push businesses into creating what it needs for people for decades, and I think this might be the right lens to see this in. Now, those are my 11 2024 predictions. My name is Mike Perna, local real estate agent. I'd be honored to get the call to help you and your family find your next home or sell your current one. Other than that, don't forget to subscribe. We drop new videos every week, and I will see you on the next video. And I can't wait till the end of the year to see if these things came out right.